Today we're making the body of a tree in Blender. What you want to do is start off with the box you're given and go into edit mode, choose vertex mode, or select all of your vertices. To select them all, make sure that you turn on toggle X-ray. Select everything and then press M and choose at center. That's the letter M and at center. What that's going to do is just give me one vertex. I could delete all the other vertexes, but that takes too long. Now the next move, I would select the move tool, and then we just start pressing E for extrude. So we could just go over here and click on extrude, but I'll use the keystroke E and up. And these are the branches, so we just keep pulling them out, and anytime you want to move a branch around, you can go like this. But anytime you touch a vertex like this one, you press E and you can extrude it up. So do whatever combination you want. I'm not going to do anything too complex, but this is meant to be the branches of a tree. Alright, so I'm going to stop right there. Of course, I could grab any of these, move them around, but I'm not trying to create the world's best tree here. I'm just trying to show you basic idea for kind of the simple body of a tree. And I'm going to get out of here, go to object mode. There's my friend. And this next move is very important. It's a modifier. Go over here to the modifier, and we're going to choose to generate a skin modifier. And the skin modifier is going to look like this. Make sure you turn off toggle X-ray. So right off the bat, I'm seeing that this is way too fat, too thick, and I'm curious to. I heard from students that this happens on and off, and doesn't normally happen to me. But I'm going to try to solve it on this video, and if I don't solve it, I'll just have to make a new video. But I'll try it for a second. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make this bigger. It does not appear to make any sort of a difference if I make this taller or bigger so far, but I'll keep going. And I am starting to see a little bit of a difference, actually. This is getting closer to what I would need for this to work. Yeah. It's weird because I haven't really been able to recreate this problem the way I am right now, but it looks like because I couldn't get the problem to occur on my computer. I'm actually glad this happened. So if this happens to you, you can kind of see a solution to it, because as you can see, when I make these bigger, it appears to make to fix the issue of the super fat, super thick tree. So we'll call that a win, even though it's a little weird. I'll call it a win. I'm not looking for perfection here. If I turn this off for a minute, I'll turn off real-time display, and I'll make a few small adjustments for my own sanity. But okay, I don't want this video to be too long. I'm actually really relieved that happened, because now, as you can see, that looks way better. If you rewind the tape, you'll see it looks a lot better than it did. I'll press E. Well, actually, I'll go into object mode and press S, as in snake for scale, and I'll scale this down. And as you can see, our tree is looking okay. Not too bad. Now, you can take the skin modifier and apply it at this point, or any point. But I suggest you keep doctoring up your tree until you're happy, but I'm just going to apply this for the purpose of this video. And what happens when you apply something is it's no longer in effect. And if you go look at the mesh for this tree, which I'm going to turn on, by the way, you can see it's a lot more dense than it was a minute ago. So I'll click wireframe. I'll turn this on, and you can see all of the wireframe bits. So now what we want to do is, obviously the tree isn't all squared off like this guy. We want to add a modifier to it, and this modifier is going to be subdivision to right away, looking better. Yeah, I'm going to turn that off for a minute and talk about some things. Small stuff, but if you go into this beautiful tree right here, if we go into edit mode and we go to select mode, we select the face at the front of this guy, and we turn on proportional editing, what we can do is we can then scale this small part down like so. So look at that. Now if I roll the wheel mouse, I'll affect more of the tree. What this does is it allows me to take and fatten up or thin out certain parts of the tree, and that's working pretty good for me. Down here at the bottom, at the base, you would imagine it would be thicker than this. So I'll press S for scale and scale that up. I'll roll up here and take a look at it. Not bad. Another thing you can do if you want your tree to look a little bit more fun is you can just kind of yank it like that. There we go. And something I do is I extrude here. And for me, this is supposed to look like roots. And all this will kind of get smoothed out later. See how I'm trying to pull this down? That's not working well. I'll just wheel mouse this guy a little smaller. There we go. There we go. I guess this part's not totally necessary, but still, I think it's kind of cool. So every little movement here is going to make the tree look a little bit more organic. Obviously, you don't want to go too crazy, but it's looking a little bit more realistic. In nature, things don't grow straight normally, so whenever you make it look like nature did that, it doesn't look natural. But I could add some more geometry down here at the bottom, but I'm going to turn on the modifier and see what I think. And since I'm actually looking for a polygon look, I'm okay. I'm okay with the look of this tree. If you're not, obviously you can just play with it as much as you want until you're happy. But if you want to extrude like a broken branch off of it or something like that, that might not be a bad idea. So to do that, you would just press E and extrude it out. And I'll press S for scale and push that part in. And I can add some loop cuts around this later. So if I want to bend it at all, I can. I think you're getting the idea, and I'm getting a little bit too obsessed with this. If you want to add some color to it, obviously that's doable, but we're not going to go there in this lesson. That's something that if you're in my class, you would know how to do by now. So let's move on to the tree topper, the leaves and such. We're going to combine a few lessons together with that. So let's move on. We'll talk about bushes and tree toppers and rocks and clouds and how all those things can kind of be merged together into similar shapes using some steps I'm going to teach you now. Okay, so we're creating some leaves, some bushes, some rocks, some very organic looking shapes to basically work with our tree. And I'm going to take my tree, which I named tree by the way, by double clicking and naming it. I'm going to turn that off. Alright, so you can kind of start with any closed shape for this next part. And all you're going to need is a relatively dense mesh that we're going to build. So I will start off with a simple object like a UV sphere. So here's a UV sphere. Here's our sphere, and actually, let me do it one more time. Here's a UV sphere. Before I do anything, I'm gonna take the segments and take them down a little bit. I'm trying to simplify this sphere. I still want to see little rectangles that are closer to squares around the sphere. The bottom, where it connects, I just don't want it to be too elaborate. Okay, so once that's done, I'm happy. I got this guy. And if you didn't change a thing, this will still work. But look, I have all this detail. So all we're talking about now is how to work with a shape, or a shape like this one, to create a basically a organic looking box that can be a stand-in for many different things that appear in nature, rocks, dirt, whatever. So it all begins with making it look organic, and that's pretty easy to do. You go to edit mode, and you go into select mode for your vertices, and just click off everything. Just left click, nothing's selected, and then go to the select menu, and here's the trick. You want to select random. So when you select random, you're going to get this guy. And all we want to do is scale all that out. Now, if you have proportional editing turned on, that can sort of mess this up. So turn that off for a minute. Press S for scale, or just go click on the scale tool and then pull it, and you're going to get one of these. So check that out. So it ends up creating a pretty organic looking rock-like shape, as you can see right off the bat. We're getting a fun shape out of this. So this is the shape that we can form just about anything from. So if I go back into object mode, if I want to warp this shape, let's say I want to make it look like that. There we go. I can kind of change the way it's put together. So this could potentially be a cloud, a rock, part of the tree. Let's go ahead and turn my tree on so I can show you how it could become part of the tree. Watch this. I'm going to just move this up to the top. Oh, I have to go back into the object mode. I almost messed this up. I'll get my move tool out, move this up, and here we go. Press S for scale, and maybe I'll just make this a big old, like the whole tree is kind of full at the top, like that. Now, if you do something like this and you feel like the geometry is not dense enough, or you want to make some little changes to it, I mean, it's really no problem. If you want more geometry, even though it's going to smooth things out, you can add a subdiv modifier. That's going to smooth everything out dramatically. Don't forget the fact that you can still rotate this guy around. You can still continue to warp him. You can make copies of him, make little pieces. You've got lots of different options for this guy. You can press Shift D, drag out a little copy like this, scale it way down. Press R for rotate. You can rotate it around. Maybe I'll rotate it on the Z, for example. I press Z to lock that in. So it's going kind of the opposite direction to this one. I can scale this up in the middle. This is somewhat of a lie, obviously, but 3D is a lie. This isn't a real object, so I don't feel any guilt over it. And there we go. There's another leaf, or batch of leaves right there. Now, I'm not going to tell you this looks like real life or anything like that. This is pretty much just a nice, fun, fake tree. But imagine this being a rock. Imagine this being a cloud. And also remember the fact that you've got all the options in the world. Ultimately, you can grab this guy. So I'm in edit mode, I think, with the right guy, but no, I'm not. I didn't mean to grab that one. I wanted to grab this one. Edit mode, and I can grab a face like this, pick it up, and make some dramatic changes to the shape of this thing. I'm not, I'm relatively happy, so I'm not going to make any crazy changes. So like I said, I'm not getting into texturing right now or the materials involved, but you get the idea of how to make this type of a tree. All right, moving on. All right, guys, now we're going to make a pine tree. So how do you make the top of a pine tree? Well, first off, you want to get a cone. So this is the beginning. And if you wanted to make a real simple pine tree, of course, you would just make different size cones on top of one of these guys, which is a cylinder. Then you would take the cylinder and stretch it out. Now let me show you something. If you want to make this a little simpler on yourself when you're making the this trunk here, just go into edit mode, turn on toggle X-ray so you can select through things. And I just adjusted this so I'm looking at it from the front by pressing Alt and the middle mouse button. Then just select the top and just drag it straight up. That should do all the work for you. Alright, so let's say that's the height I want roughly. I'll thin it out a little bit and make it a little smaller because kind of imagining what it's going to look like. Alright, so here's part of our tree. Here's the trunk, and obviously if we want to make a really lame tree we could, but we're going to make something that looks a little bit more realistic, organic. I'll start off with the trunk, and then I'll make one level of the pine tree. So with the trunk, what you want to do is go into edit mode after you've done what I just did, and then just add a whole bunch of loop cuts. I say just press Control R, but you can click the loop cut tool, click once, then just add a bunch of cuts over here. They don't have to be that many cuts, but I'm going to do like 10 cuts, I guess. Then I'm going to commit. Alright, so I'm going to commit by just pressing the move tool here. Alright, and so the next step is going to be to grab these loops and to start making some small adjustments. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and maybe grab the bottom of the middle here and move this over slightly. And I'll, if you turn on proportional editing, this will work a little smoother, but I'll go like this. Wheel mousing this a little bit smaller and moving these around a little bit so that the tree flows a little better. I'm going to press, I'm going to select all the way through here. I didn't have this whole run selected, and I'll do that. You can see I'm getting a little bit more of a fun looking tree. You can also scale the size up and down, like at the bottom here. If I want to select this bottom face, press S for scale. I can scale the whole thing out like so, and that's going to affect the look of my my pine tree. At the top I'll make it really small, we'll say. So I'll press S for scale and shrink it way down like that. No one's going to see this part, it'll be covered up, but you get the idea. Alright, I'm going to get out of X-ray mode, back into a viewport shading mode with that doesn't even show me colors because I'm just trying to speed things up. And I'll spare you the part which I think you've already figured out where I can use subdiv and stuff like that, and ignore what I just did because I didn't have X-ray turned on. But let's call that done, okay? And let's move over to this guy. All right, we're just gonna make one level, then I'll pause and I'll show you a finished result. All right, so this is the guy I'm talking about. Okay, this is a little more complex than you might imagine if you want to have some versatility and some options. Here's how it goes. You go into edit mode, and one of the first things you want to do is get rid of this. So just press, go to this bottom face and delete it. And click face. So I press the delete key. Now there's this edge going around. And what I'm going to suggest you do is go to the edge loop mode. So click on this edge and then alt click. Not click, but alt. Hold down alt and click right here, and we'll get the loop selected all the way around the edge. Then press E for extrude. You're going to get that. Then press S for scale, and then scale it in. Now, after you scale it in, pick this up a little bit. This is the inside of the tree. Then press E for extrude again. Then press S and scale it in one more time. Now, if you want to finish this off, just press M, and M is going to merge all those edges, and then press Enter. Then this will close up. So what we have is this nice little closed shape. And of course, to make this look a little bit more realistic, right, we're going to select the faces, edges, vertices, whatever. You get to pick, but here's a couple vertices. I'm going to work my way around and start pulling these out. And with each little movement, we're going to be customizing the look of this tree. If you want to look at it from the top, you can press Alt middle mouse button, and you can just grab each piece like that. This is just made up. This is just one tier, one level. Now you could make just one of these, but if you want your tree to look really custom and catered, like you made something unique, and you're going to have to, on your own, go in and build a few of these. But that's one. Okay, and of course you could have as much fun as you want with this. And when I first started it, yeah, I could have a more complicated mesh, but I'm going to leave it like this. So I'll be back in a second. I'll show you the finished result, because I'm just going to pop this on top of the tree. Alright, I lined this all up. I'm going to press Shift D, and then I'm going to move it down. So Shift D made a copy. Then I'll choose Grab to move it. So Shift D, right? Shift D like I just did, and then press Z to lock it on the Z, and then press R for rotate after you actually press Shift D again, lock it on the Z, click to stop, to commit to that movement, and then press R for rotate, then rotate it on the what is that, the Y, or actually it's the Z, yeah. So rotate it on the Z so that these are different, and then scale it up like so. We'll do one more. Shift D, lock it on the Z by pressing Z. There we go. And then we're going to commit by left clicking. Then we're going to press R for rotate. Then we'll lock it on the Z again, and we'll rotate it so that the shape is a little different. You can also rotate it sideways a little bit if you want. So as you can see here, I'm kind of like tilting these. I wouldn't go too crazy with that. And if you like it, cool. If you don't, you can scale it up and down a little bit. Figure out a size that you like. I'm just pressing S for scale right there to mess around with some different ideas here. I'm not unhappy with the way this guy is looking. Obviously, move the whole top up. I'm shift clicking to select separate pieces, but this is just another variation on the same idea. I bothered to make that weird looking trunk, so maybe this is something that I do. But here you go. We got ourselves a fine little custom pine tree. Let's move forward. Alright, we've made a lot of living trees. Let's make a dead one that's hollow. This could obviously be coming out of the ground, but we're going to have it sitting on the ground because I think it looks cool that way. So pretty simply, we add ourselves a cylinder like so. And we just want a skinny cylinder. So we'll just thin that thing out. And we don't, 16 vertices is fine. To get things moving along, I'm going to go into edit mode right away. And I'm going to click on the loop cut tool. And just click once, and then just add a bunch of loop cuts to it. I'm not going to go crazy. Let's say 13. Okay, that's a good number. So I'll say yes to that. And now I want to scale this thing up in size. I'm going to make it taller. And I'll just do that with the good old scale tool. So grab the scale tool. Make sure that we don't have proportional editing turned on. And just scale it up. You get out of edit mode. Obviously, I should have done that to begin with. But S for scale. I'm scaling this whole thing up. In fact, don't press S. Just do that. Yeah, just scale it on the Z with the tool. Sorry if I made that complicated, but again, you're here, just do that using the scale tool. And there we go. This is going to be our tree. I'm going to rotate this tree, so I'm going to rotate it negative 90 degrees. So I'm going to press Alt and the middle mouse button to get in the negative Y view. You don't have to do this, actually. I do it for my own sake. And holding down Control while I rotate. And over there in the rotation, you can see I've rotated to negative 90 degrees. And there we go. You know, starting to get there. How do we make this thing look damaged? Well, there's a few different moves. One move, I said it would be hollow, so we want to delete. Go to edit mode and delete these faces. So, not edges, but make sure it's the faces. So that face is gone. And delete. And that face is gone. So that was just the delete key. Now is where things kind of get interesting. We can start to do some damage. I'm going to go into vertex mode and go to select and select random. And then I'm just going to scale ever so slightly. Not a lot. Okay? Slightly. Scale these up. In fact, you could do them all separately right here if you want. But we are just trying to make some little moderate changes to the log here. Okay, so there it goes. Now he looks kind of damaged, which is what we want. And then I'm going to have some branches kind of coming out of it. So I'll add a little bit more geometry with the loop cut tool to a few random sections. Then I'll go into select mode, face select mode, and I'll select the faces from those sections. All right. So here we go. And this looks like a pretty good spot. And if it doesn't look good enough to you, just go back into loop cut mode and make a few more loop cuts until you have the right size face like this one. Then I'll just press E for extrude and extrude out. I'll press E a few times so there's some geometry here. And then I'll start to kind of bend this at points. In fact, I don't really want to go that far. This is fine. I'll press S for scale. I'll do that. Fine. If I want to turn on proportional editing, if I want to make a move, I can make the whole thing move with me. I don't really care. So I could put a few of these on here. I don't really feel like adding anymore. I'll leave it like that. This is a really straight looking stump, so if you care about that and you want to make it more diverse, grab it and bend it up a little bit. Now this is going to require that you have like proportional editing turned on for this to kind of work best, but you can see it is working. And so this tree isn't straight, wasn't straight, whatever. This would work as it is, but if you really want to add some finishing touches to the whole thing, just add this modifier. So here we go. Here's our friend, and our friend's name is Solidify. So that's going to add some thickness to this. So add Solidify. And as you can see, I can make this thicker or thinner, just like that. You can see it's having somewhat of a weird result on this little branch I had, but overall it looks pretty good. If you're happy with it, you can apply it, or don't apply it. It doesn't matter. Short story is, we got ourselves the ability to make little down trees now, and that ends our talk on trees. Obviously, there's a whole lot more we could talk about, but this gives you some ideas for your landscape. Thanks for listening.